What's up, gamers, and welcome to a new episode of Last Cloudia. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We don't have any real gotcha, you know, banners to pull on or anything like that. Nothing new there. But I do want to kind of just talk about a specific subject that I've been wanting to bring up for a while. But I wanted to make sure that I was good enough to talk about it before, doing so. And that's basically boss strats. Now, I will let you know that when I go over this, the units that you will use may vary depending on the boss that you're fighting. The idea is not to necessarily tell you how to beat a specific boss, but this is just kind of a way to get you started so that you can do so with the units that you prefer. So I'm going to be kind of going over that, giving you ideas of how to build your team, what kind of good abilities should you use, things of that nature. And then from there, you can kind of make your own decision based off the units you have, what your best choices or options will be. All right, so before I continue, I do want to do a quick shout out to Last Claudia. The New Year's celebration has been awesome, especially with a lot of the stuff that's been happening in the shop and the gotchas. So, to be more specific, they did have a lot of interesting stuff that you can get. Actually, I just passed over the first thing, I think. No, that's something else. They had, well, here we go. A lot of the New Year sets. The one for 4,800 free crystals gave you some interesting things, but the one thing that matters the most, in my opinion, was what they called the New Year unit arc set or something like that. Basically, it's a selector. You get to use that ticket to pick whichever arc or character you want and just have it. Now, be advised that when you get that ticket, it is very limited to what you can get. So let me go to the gotcha to see if I can pull it up for you. Actually, no, it's not in the gotcha, it's in the marketplace. So let's go ahead and take a look here. All right, so we go to the events, I believe. Yeah, New Year Unit Arc Trade Ticket. That's what it's called. And this is it right here. So you can pick any character that you don't own, which funny thing is, Shin I think was one of the very first characters you can get. And I still, after all this time I've been playing, never got him. And I'm not upset about it. I just think it's funny. But you can pick him. There's a bunch of arcs that you can pick from. But again, this is only up to a certain point. So characters like, let's say, Yashimaru, he cannot be selected as a unit. But yeah, it does have a bunch of units that you can collect. The only reason that it says I can't do it is because I already have the character. So there is a large variety of who you can get. But yeah, more of the recent units like I want to say Blaze Blade Shin or I'm gonna say maybe Guardian Angel Keel. Characters like those could not be picked here. So those are non-limited characters up to a specific point, and that also goes for arcs. These are all the arcs that you can get up to a specific point. So this is one of the best things that Last Cloud has done because that's one of the things that kind of bothered me for a while is no, actual specific selector. But the fact that they did this kind of as a New Year's thing, I thought that was pretty cool. So shout outs to the devs for allowing that to be possible. They also had the gotcha where you could pay 9,600 paid gems to get a guaranteed UR arc, I think a Descent of Hero character, and then 8 at least SSR or better arcs or war units. I thought that was pretty cool that they did that. I got 2 duplicates of the UR arc I already have, so I was able to basically level it up 2 more times. So that was pretty cool. And I got some extra stuff, which was alright. And then they also had another one. I'm not sure if it's still here. I might not be able to show it because I've already purchased it. Yeah, I can't show it. But they had another one where you could do it up to 3 times. You spend 3,000 non paid gems to basically get a guaranteed unit. That I thought was awesome because I was able to pull some really cool stuff off of that. So definitely happy about what I got as far as that's concerned. Like I said, the devs went out like all out for us. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out. So I appreciate what y'all did. Also, one final shout out before I talk about the actual subject at hand. We have another YouTuber that's making some content in terms of Last Claudia. His name is Buddhafish. I just had to look it up real quick because I actually kind of forgot the name at first. But yeah, check him out. He's just started recently making videos about the game, coming from a new player perspective. But a lot of the information he provides is good for players of all calibers. So, drop him a view, show him some love. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about some strats as far as bosses are concerned. Now, when you're creating your party, the idea is to basically deal as much damage as you can as fast as you can. Probably not good to drag out the fight longer than it needs to be. So you need, I'm going to say, at minimum two DPS characters or more. I would say at least one physical and one mage. This is just an example of a team that I've used to clear some boss content. So what I'm going to kind of let you know is not necessarily which characters you should use, but which skills, which arcs, things of that nature might help you out here. So, on the physical DPS side, we're going to go ahead and check out my boy Logia, who I finally got, by the way, because that's the character I picked for the selector. Now, basically, when you're building anyway, I'm not going to go into all the details on how to build a character. There are definitely a lot of other YouTube videos that go into that. But, basically, you want the attacks up, so you want some criticals if you can. I would highly recommend any kind of a weapon boost. So if you're using a sword high boost, axe, claws. If you're a mage, you want the staff, obviously. So stuff like that, I think is going to be very important to make sure that your damage output is as high as it can be. Now, as far as the crits concerned, there are some debates as whether are crits necessary. And I'm going to say that it's good to have one because I like Proud Force, so being able to heal yourself without having to depend on a healer is convenient. So I think that that's something that you should consider. Now, there are some people who don't care about it, they think it's a waste of SC, and that's fine, but I think that it's something to consider, especially if you're using certain weapons that give you bonuses off crits or certain arcs or things of that nature. If you're running anything like that, then crits become very important. But if you're not running any kind of equipment like weapons, accessories, or arcs that give you a bonus off doing crits, then honestly it's kind of just up to your preference. But I like to use crits and I use attack ups, things of that nature, and any kind of a weapon boost. Now, I also would recommend if you have them, try to find at least one character with dual wield. That's going to be your main damage dealer for the physical side. I think that, especially if you're trying to go for the whole breaker scenario, that's going to help you a lot. And just dealing more damage in general, I think that that's going to be your best bet. If you don't have a character with dual wield, at that point, I would basically recommend that you learn dual wield with at least one of your characters. This can be learned from an arc called, let's see if I can find it. There it is, Sandworm. And it might take you a while to learn. And I actually think I have something I can collect here. I haven't collected it in a while. There we go. But anyway, that was cool. I didn't even know I had anything there. So this will help you learn dual wield if you happen to have Sandworm. If you don't have dual wield and you don't have the character yet, you could still, be creative as far as finding ways to deal damage. There are other things that you can learn, if you want to do like, skill charge, even maybe some clothing boosts, like clothing boost and clothing high boost. Not everybody likes it, but I actually like it if you're forced to single wield. It's a way to give you a little bit of offense and some defense. I don't see anything wrong with that, especially against bosses. But yeah, at least one physical DPSer and at least one mage, and if possible, dual wield. I think that's going to help you, especially if you're breaking. And that's the other thing I want to bring up too, is that you should have at least one, possibly two people breaking. Uh, the reason for that is because when you're breaking people, it basically stops the boss from acting for a short while. And as a matter of fact, this is something you don't necessarily have to do, but I have an arc equipped to one of my characters that also helps with the breaking part. It says, I'll read the whole thing. It says, duration of buffs, debuffs, and status elements applied by unit plus 30%. Enemy break recovery speed minus 30%. So basically, it helps to extend the break period longer so you can take advantage of them and deal more damage. Every little bit counts when you're doing boss battles, so that's something I do. That's kind of my own little tech. You don't necessarily have to do this; is not like a must, but it can be very helpful. But I always go for the big damage as much as I can, plus breaking. Like I said, it's very important. And the good thing about this specific character is that not only does it come with dual wield, but I believe he has like either I'm not sure if it's a oh, it's his weapon. That's right. He has a weapon that allows him to increase his break. Here it is. So it's the Violet Tree Winners. When physically attacking, chance to inflict blind, slightly boost break of enemies with status elements. So this will help you in breaking, and then on top of that, you can also learn breaker with him. Oops, I hit the wrong button. But what you want to do is learn breaker if you can. So that's what I've done. I'm still not used to this screen here. As you can tell, I keep doing the wrong things. But yeah, you can learn breaker, which I have somewhere on here, I think. There we go. So what you're gonna do is equip breaker, if I can find it. Maybe I didn't give him breaker. I might be just lying to you guys because apparently that's what I do best. But I thought I put breaker on him. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wasn't even looking. But yeah, so boost break level. So yeah, you definitely want to do breaker just to kind of help you boost that, especially if you're dual wielding. And when you're doing normal attacks, it helps it a bit more because it's basically per hit. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. If you have two characters that you have breaking, especially if they're dual wielding, it just makes it happen a lot faster. Now, not everybody really focuses too much on breaking. Some people just go for the big damage, and that's okay too. But breaking is another strat that is good against bosses, especially if you're just fighting one but big boss. This will come in handy big time. So, physical damage, breaking, and I have one more strat that I typically use. Once I go over that strat, then I'll give you kind of some ideas of which characters you could use, which arcs you should try. But the debuffing is another strat that I personally love. Might not be necessary. Actually, you know what? When it comes to debuffing, it's necessary to a point. There's one specific spell that you should have with the mage that you're going to run, which is going to be weak. And let me go ahead and find it here. I believe this lady comes with it. I just have to find this. I just want you to see it for yourself so you know what it looks like. So, weak, it's decrease all attribute resistance for a single target. The reason this is important is because it's lowering the elemental uh, resistance, which means that you're dealing more damage. You're gonna. A lot of these bosses have resistances to a lot of things. Some might even be yeah, actually, yeah. They're if they're not weak to it, they might be like no, like in the middle, or they might be really highly resistant. So lowering that resistance will mean that your characters that have like elemental attacks or just spells in general will be able to get through for more damage. So weak is something that I highly recommend, and even if the character you're running doesn't have it, I recommend learning it as well. I think there's like maybe one arc that you can learn with that, so definitely go out of your way to do that. That's the one debuff spell that I highly recommend for any boss battle because it's going to help you deal damage faster, thus killing the boss. Now keep in mind that when you cast weak, it will run out eventually, so you're going to have to eventually recast it. But while it's on there, just start going to town. Now, there is another strat, and I built Logia a specific way here just to show it off because it's kind of a cheap way to kind of cheat the game a bit, if you will, when it comes to bosses. And I'll let you know what that is. There's a different form of debuffing. Not only can you debuff the actual elements, but you can actually debuff them as far as like stun, poison, whatever that case may be. So a lot of the elements. So Nologia is a great example because he has a few of the researchers that can already do some of this stuff. But what I've seen people do, and it's really cheap, but it can work. It is still a bit luck based, but it'll work. Basically, you can equip what's called the Cactus Hammer. This is a weapon that could be purchased in one of the shops. I'm not sure specifically which one. But what it does is the Cactus Hammer, it says regular attacks have a chance to inflict stun. Now, I tested this just to see how reliable it was. It is pretty decent. It does work for the most part. I mean, if the enemy you're fighting it basically is null to all resistance, you're gonna have to go an extra step to make it to where they're not nullified but just resistant. And then you're still gonna have to put in a little effort. So it's kind of up to you if you think it's worth it or not. But I wanted to bring this up because, like I said, I've seen people do this specifically to that Reaper boss, which is like one of the ones that a lot of people are having a hard time with. And it's the last boss that I ended up beating because even I had a little bit of a struggle myself. But using this particular hammer, I actually tested it against that. It actually helped me win because eventually he just stopped doing stuff. But of course, eventually it does, run out and he ends up being able to move again. But as long as you just keep doing your regular physical attacks, you'll eventually stun him again and it can work. Now, if the opponent that you're fighting is immune to all status elements or the ones you need, I would help learn Anula Melth. It is 10 SC, so it's going to be costly, but you decrease status element resistance for all enemies. So this will help you to be able to stun them or poison or whatever it is you're going for. Now, I'm only showing this off because it's another strat. If you're lacking in other ways and you want to find a way to basically cheese the boss, this is another way to do it. Keep in mind that this isn't necessarily the best way to win. Because, like I said, is as long as you're using weak to lower the elemental resistance, you're going to be able to deal damage. And that's a little more consistent than having to rely on stunning them. So, but this is still a kind of a little tech that some people do to be bosses, and I've tested it out, and it does work a bit too. It just makes it longer for you to kill them because obviously you're lowering your attack, for a hammer that might not be worth it. So, something to consider. Now, and that's basically how I beat most of these bosses. Now, as far as the bosses are concerned, you can find them in various places. There is an event right now for super bosses. There's two actually. You have the Kingdom Come, which is basically there permanently. You can basically play these, and you can get rewards. You get 300. Let's see, you get if you do everything, you get at least 600 crystals, which is pretty cool. And uh, and that's for your first time clear. It's doing it within a certain time limit. You could do it on two. Each character that you're facing here has two different difficulties, so you have two chances of actually winning and getting more resources, and getting more crystals and stuff like that. So highly recommend doing this. You don't have to rush to do it because this will be around, I think, permanently. The only thing that's not going to be permanent is the Mega Beast attack. This, I believe, is going to be for a limited time, so this will probably go away soon. These are a lot of the bosses that you can actually fight in the world map. But they have it here as a way to basically, give you an opportunity to get more rewards. The rewards are a little bit different here, so you're not going to be really getting crystals. You're going to be getting other things, but it's still worth kind of showing off. And the cool thing about this is, let's say you're kind of looking for ideas on what other people are doing. They have this little ranking thing where it'll actually show you the top players that have defeated it, how long, and what skill of what arc and characters they use. You can even tap on their characters to see what their builds were. So you can click on what skills they're using. You can click on what equipment they're using, things of that nature. I don't know how accurate it is, but I assume it's at the game state that it was used to fight that boss, and that's pretty much it. I don't think that there'll be any modding after that. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for ideas, this is a good way to do so. So feel free to do it. I don't believe you can do that in the Kingdom Come one. Oh, actually, you can. I didn't even realize that. So when the other one goes away, you can go to Kingdom Come. This will tell you how they beat these specific bosses. So you'll go to ranking and you'll see what teams everybody use and things of that nature. So just to kind of inspire you to let you know that it's doable. The setups maybe something that you want to try. copy potentially, or you can kind of do your own thing, which is kind of what I do. Now, arcs are going to be very, very important in your boss battles. So, in the party that I've created, and again, I've tested this specific party, and it's decent. It seems to work a little bit. Logia is kind of a new addition since I did just get him recently, so he's not exactly up to par, but he's still getting the job done. But the arcs that I decided to use for some of these fights were one from Zero. Now this is a limited arc that came from a collab, the ReZero collab. So some of you might not have this, but the reason that this is decent is that one, it says SCT recovery speed plus 10%, skill damage plus 20%. So that right there will help you be able to basically use your skills more often and deal more damage with those skills. The rest of it is kind of, won't necessarily matter unless you have learned certain things, but that's the important part about this arc. So ideally, you want to equip things that can help you deal more damage. Same here with Phoenix Blow. Now this is a little bit different though. This is going to help you breaking. So if you're going for the break thing that I'm doing, break plus 100% upon enemy defeat, special gauge plus 10%, skill damage 25%. So the main thing that you need to see here that's important is break 100% and skill damage 25%. Those are the two things that's going to matter. So that's another option you have, especially if you don't have the from zero one. And then also, if you're looking for more ways to potentially deal damage, there are other arcs that are really, really good. I recommend definitely looking through the arcs you have when you've decided you want to start tackling boss battles, and just kind of look and see. You're like, oh wow, this could work pretty well. Here's another one that I think is pretty good too for bosses. This is the Terror of the Granite Seas, and apparently there's something I can collect because I can hear it chiming. Let's see. Oh, there it is. I couldn't see it at first. I'll take it. All right. So, oh, there's something else too, because I still hear it chiming. There it is. Nice. Okay. So, I think that's done. I don't hear any more chiming now. All right. So, the attribute of this particular arc break level plus 120%. Very, very awesome. Very important. When an axe is equipped, chance to reduce enemy defense by half and deal damage. For specific characters, obviously, or if you just want to use an axe in general. And then at start of battle, strength plus 40%, which is huge, returns to baseline over time. So this is going to be the kind of arc you're going to use if you are really trying to get that quick kill. With the physical DPS, this is definitely a good way to go. Like I said, you're getting a fast break, you're getting a large boost in strength percentage. So, like I said, this is something that you may want to consider. But this is all about either increasing damage output and/or breaking. But it is still important. And like I said, there's other ones that you might be able to see that I didn't mention that might help you as well. But like I said, there's a lot of different combinations you can use to help you out here when it comes to dealing as much damage as possible. Now, another thing to consider are your mages. Now, you don't necessarily have to have a healer in the party, especially if you're really just going for quick kills. A healer is not necessarily something you're going to want to use, but if you don't think you have what it takes to get a pretty fast win, having someone that can at least cast God Heal is a good option. Now, in this particular example, I decided to use Tinkili because I actually like her debuffing. But so what I did, since she doesn't come with God Heal, is I actually equipped her with it. It's not letting me bring her up here, so I'm going to bring her up on the other screen. I think I have too many programs going, so it's just not cooperating right now. Okay, so I'll just show you the way I built her here. So yeah, I basically use 8SC to give her God Heal, just in case, things go wrong. You could always just hit that button and boom, I'm back to keep going. Like once you get that heal on, continue with the damage. But yeah, I mean, if you don't necessarily have to have a dedicated healer, but having a caster who at least has God Heal as a start, you may even want to consider Resurrection. Again, this is more if you're going for the long game, God Heal and Resurrection. But it's not bad to have. However, I will say that, you know, if you don't want to have to use 8SC to do so, there are a lot of mages that you can use that have God Heal. Amelia, who low key has become one of my favorite casters in this game, she's been really doing some stuff when it comes to clearing content. I actually just ran her through the tower, and she helped me actually, clear all these floors. But when you look at her skill kit, she actually comes with God Heal. So that's 8SC you don't have to worry about. So you just have to worry about other things. So again, you don't necessarily need a dedicated healer, but it wouldn't hurt to use a character that has God Heal. I think that at the very minimum would be necessary if you're gonna, you know, kind of prepare for the worst. Uh, and obviously, you have a lot of other excellent choices. If you have Guardian Angel Lucio, she's a fantastic character in general. She's my hybrid damage dealer because she just has good stats in general, but she also comes pre-equipped with God Heal for free. So that's another way for you to, now, and she has resurrection, which is even better. So you're getting two ways to kind of recover without having to spend any extra SC. One of the things you're going to learn is the more SC you can save, the better you are. Uh, for example, remember earlier when I said that I would recommend that you use someone that has dual wield? Well, let's say you don't have anyone with dual wield, and let's say you have Randy here, right? We'll just pretend you want to use him. Understand that dual wield's going to cost you, I think it's 14 to equip, which is a lot. Now, some people will argue that it's worth it. Some will kind of. There's a little bit of back and forth that I've seen about is it worth actually learning uh, dual wield for somebody. Now, I'm not really using Randy, so I don't think I have it equipped to him. I'll double check, but I don't think I do right now. But okay, I thought I learned it, but maybe I didn't, or I just haven't seen it because I'm busy talking. Oh no, it's right here. So yeah, dual wield. It costs 14 SC. So if you don't have a character with dual wield, you're already basically having to sacrifice 14 of your skill cost, which is a large chunk for it. But people will argue that it's worth it. Personally, I don't have an opinion. Like I said, I would rather just have a character that naturally has dual wield and not have to worry about it. That's kind of the position that I'm in. So if I don't have to, well, I'm not going to do it. And that's why none of my characters have learned it outside of it being natural because I just don't want to spend that SC. But there's nothing wrong with doing it though. It will not hurt you to put dual wield on a character that doesn't have it, especially if you're lacking in that department. Dual wield will help you get all that extra damage. Now you might say, well, the problem with dual wield is, you're only getting 60% damage off of each of your attacks. That's not a problem because you're still getting more damage overall. Plus, if you're running things like sword boost or claw boost or whatever boost that you're using, it's going to help make up for that potential percentage damage that you're losing out on. So, in all honesty, it's worth it as far as, especially for boss fights, 100% worth it. So, there you have it. Uh, so yeah, so we went over basically having a physical DPS character, having a mage, and when you have a mage, again, you want someone that at the very least has some kind of healing or you learn it for them. And also, I highly recommend making sure that the mage you're using has weak. If they don't have it in their kit, learn it. I don't think it costs a whole lot to learn it. Let me go back to Keely real quick since he's the one that's been my volunteer today. Let's take a look here. How much did it cost to learn it? It cost me. Oh, she has it for free. I'm sorry. Let me go to another character that doesn't have it. I don't think. Who else did I learn it for? I want to say I learned it for someone. Maybe it was Lily. We're gonna hit her up and see. Because I don't remember exactly how much it cost. But let me see if I learned it with her. Well, my understanding is weak doesn't actually cost a lot to equip. Oh yeah, it's only 3 SC. So for 3 SC, you have a way to help your team be able to continue to deal good damage. So like I said, at the very minimum, I would definitely suggest learning weak for your mage, and at the very start of the battle, throw weak down there, just to ensure that you're dealing more damage. And then you can go to town, and then of course make sure you have a god heal, just in case things go south. And then of course just keep casting your big spells. If you're running Lily, I mean obviously she's got a variety of strong light and dark stuff. If you don't have characters like Lily, you can use other characters. There are plenty of other good characters. So assuming you don't have a DOH unit, or if you don't have let's just say you don't have any limited units, there are non-limited units that you can get that can help you. It just won't be as strong. But just remember to try to get some of those spells and use them. You're looking at 3 SC for week. You're looking at about 9 SC, I think it was, for God Heal. The only thing that's going to really hurt you is if you don't have anyone with dual wield. Now, if you get Sevia, she's pretty easy to get since she's one of the earlier characters. She comes with dual wield, so that's a start. Um, but if you don't, then yeah, that's the thing that's going to hurt you the most is learning dual wield because you can only get it from one arc, is my assumption. So if you don't have that one arc, it's going to be really rough for you. I mean, you can still beat it without dual wield, but again, it's just going to be harder on you. Lila, she's another character that's an older unit that's not limited. She also comes with God Heal, I believe. Yeah, she does. So, she'll be good to, use for that. And on top of that, you'll be able to cast Shining Zoc, so you at least have a spell that you can use. So I think that's going to be good for you. And then if you want to go the dedicated healer route, you happen to have her, which I finally got her by the way, and of course now she has 3 different forms that she can use. Obviously, this is still going to be the best mage in the game. So let's say you're going for the long game because you don't think you have a lot of the arcs or what it takes really to get a win at a timely manner, but you want to make sure that your characters stay alive. If you happen to have this character right here, with all of the cool ability that she has, she's going to take you far. Now, I haven't built her much yet. I actually just got her recently. I think I got her right before, or no. Yeah, I think I got her right before the new year. I just decided to say, screw it. I used up all my crystals, and at the very end of the last crystals that I had, I finally pulled her. But yeah, I mean, she is definitely the character you're going to want in the event that you're forced to go the long game and you want a dedicated healer. She is the best that you're going to get. A good second is going to be Lena. She's one of the older characters. She's not nearly as good as the new one, but she's still pretty decent. I haven't used her in forever, so I don't even know what I have on her. But so I actually learned God Heal for her, so that's pretty cool. So if the healer that you're using doesn't have God Heal, and it only costs 8, not 9. I actually misquoted earlier. It's worth having God Heal at the very, very least. And she's gonna be the one. She actually comes with Resurrection as well, so she's someone that can help you out. I think I gave her like Tornado Storm just because I wanted to do something offensive to some degree, some MP, some Magic Ups. I haven't given her Magic Up 4 yet, but again, I haven't used this character in forever. But this is still a decent healer. The only issue that I have with Leela is I feel like I have to control her because she's going to start using Magical Cane, throwing herself in front of the boss and just getting wiped. And that was the one reason that's the only thing I didn't like about her. But other than that, she's pretty solid as a healer. Like her skill kit is not bad in terms of healing and the spells and stuff that she could use. She's okay. But again, compared to what is she called? Spirit Maiden Theria? Yeah, there's a huge gap between the two. And you might as well just use her. So now, one thing that I didn't mention earlier is that where do you find these bosses? Now, I already mentioned that in the event tab, you can find some of these super bosses here by going to the Kingdom Come or by going to the Mega Beast. Now, the Mega Beast is limited, but if you want to fight some of these bosses like Jalabunga, Daramekya, and all that stuff, you can find them on the world map. And keep in mind that you can fight them on the world map twice as far as like getting rewards. The first time you're gonna get like specific things like maybe a weapon, some other stuff, and then the second time you beat the boss, you're gonna get a bunch of crystals. So it's definitely worth it to go back, fight it again, and get the rewards for it. But to kind of give you an idea where all the bosses are, the big machine is going to be here. I don't think it's showing up anymore because I've already beat it twice, so it's probably not going to show up. Yeah, I think it might be under a sub quest if it's there. But the Sky Fortress Solaris is where like the big machine is, the big wall I think it's called. And then if you want to fight the sandworm, I want to say it's in one of these, like the Dara Desert is my assumption. So you can check out the Dara Desert and find it there. You can also find the that stupid Reaper that's super hard to beat. That's located in the Ice Ruin. Oh, it's actually still there. The Soul Eater. Okay. So yeah, you can fight it literally right here as a free quest over and over, which is weird because I actually beat it a second time and it's still there. Usually they go away, but okay, they're actually letting you fight that one over and over. Well, that's pretty cool that you get to do that. And then the big plant. I'm just collecting some stuff here. The big plant that you could fight too, which that was a kind of a pain. I believe that's in the Bedell Rainforest. But I don't think it's going to allow me to show it. Yeah. It would usually be as a subquest, but it's not here. Okay, so yeah, the Bedell Rainforest is where you would find the plant. Oh yeah, and there's one other thing too, that lightning bird thing. I think it's Madrone or something. I'm not sure what it's called, but anyway, you'll find it in the Gragia Mountains. I don't think you can actually do the subquest if you've already beat it twice. Yeah, it's already gone, so I can't do it. So, and I'm not talking about like 310 Where's Madrone. I think it's actually called something else. It's the Jalabunga or something like that. Calabung, whatever. But you can find it there. So if you fight each of these, if you beat them twice and actually fulfill their requirements, you'll be able to get some decent rewards. So definitely highly recommend it. Another thing that I want to bring up is a few equipments that might be worth considering in your boss battles. Yeah, trust me, when you're doing boss battles, forget about like worried about if you're gonna take something away from another character. You can always like redo your stuff later. So couple of things I'm going to pretty much highlight here that might be helpful for you. Now, if you're going to go for a super crit build with a mage, I highly recommend Heaven's Cry. This basically is a lot of stats for strength, intelligence, MP, but magical critical damage plus 30%. So this is the argument as to why critical could be very important, because this specific weapon is going to help you get to your damage cap. Remember, when you're fighting in the world map in general, you don't need this to hit your damage cap because everything is so weak, with the exception of maybe God mode. But when you're fighting bosses, their mind is going to be higher. They're going to have a lot of resistance, things of that nature. So I would recommend 100% getting Heaven's Cry if you can. It comes with one of the arcs, so you definitely want to get that to get that damage up with your mage. Now, if you fight that big machine, you get Ray's weapon. If you happen to have the Divine Beast Ray specifically, this is just going to help him with skill damage. Um, and obviously, he does some stuff to God bosses as well, which doesn't really apply to all of them, but it could apply to a few things. There was another one that was really interesting. This is specifically for Lagrobos. You get this one when you beat the Reaper, but I don't have Lagrobos, so I can't really talk about him. I did borrow a friend unit, Lagrobos, to help beat the Reaper, and I kept casting Apocalypse with him while doing my other stuff. Really, really worked. So that's something to consider too. I bought something recently in the shop. I'm trying to think of where it is. Oh, it's an accessory. That's right. Now, this is just if you're going for flat, let me deal as much damage as I can type stuff. I'm just trying to see which one it was. Was it this? This is actually a good item too, but that's not what I'm looking for. Basically, what this does is it slightly increases your crit percentage, but the big thing is your crit hit power goes up. So again, if you're going for like full crit, it's definitely a good accessory to use. But there's something else that you can actually buy. You get that from fighting the Reaper, I think. But the one I'm looking for, I actually purchased from the shop. I just don't remember what it was. apparently wasn't prepared for this, but it's an interesting item. When I first saw it, I was like, "Am I really gonna want to use this? Is it really gonna be worth it?" But it came in handy to give you because it gives you a pretty good boost. I think it's a 5 star. I just don't remember what it was. Basically, what it does, it gives you like a intelligence over 100 for an accessory, which is crazy. And on top of that, you can't use skills. That's what it is. I thought it was a mask or something like that. I think that's what it is. That's why I kept tapping on this thing because I thought it looked like a mask, but maybe it didn't. Dang, I really wanted to show it off. And I don't know who I have it equipped on because I do have it equipped. I just don't know by who. Man, I wish I knew. Or maybe I took it off. Okay, so I'm probably not going to be able to find it, unfortunately. But there is an accessory that you can buy in one of the newer areas where basically you can't. Oh, it's right here. I found it. Oh, it's a 6 star item. Okay. So this is the Elder King mask. It can be bought in one of the newer area shops. Skills can't be used. Now, when it says skills can't be used, they're only talking about your S1, 2, and 3. You can still use your special. I've tested this. That's how I know it. Because I gave it to Keely briefly as a test for one of the bosses. But for an accessory, you're getting 122 intelligence, which is crazy. That is a lot of intelligence for an accessory. You can expect this from like a like a staff, maybe even a robe potentially, but on an accessory you don't see that every day. So if you don't mind not using skills and just focusing on being a mage, this thing is going to be really really helpful for you guys. So just little things to consider as far as your team composition. Also, don't throw away your. Oh, don't ignore your 4 star accessories, weapons, and armor. These are things that can be used to really give you an edge. Even some of the 4 star stuff, like for example, some of the more popular 4 star items are the Red Moon stones, and there's another one. I think it's like a cultist pendant that basically ups your casting speed. So, but the Red Moon basically gives you a casting speed of 20%. That's why you use that. And then I think that's something else. But there's another one that also gives you an increased casting speed, but it does other stuff. And I can't really find it, but it's there somewhere, I promise. It's also a 4 star item that can help you out. So when you're preparing for a boss fight, look through your inventory of what you have. Don't ignore it because it says 4 star. Yes, the 5 star, 6 star items are typically better, but there are some 4 star items that are good enough to use because they do specific things that other things don't. Now, 3 and 2 star items are going to be probably useless, but yeah, anything from 4 stars and up can be useful in boss battles if you really think about it. If you really kind of like put it all together. As far as armors are concerned, basically there are a few things that all mages can use that would be good. Holy Robe Fin. Basically, you get HP and MP recovery. You get a lot of intelligence, which is very important, a lot of mind, which is also very important. So, whichever mage you're going to be using to get through a boss content, your mage should be equipped with this. I should have put it on Team Keely. I forgot to do it, or maybe I did. I don't even remember. I think I took it off now. But this is definitely one of the best robes you could use for your mage. So, definitely something you might want to consider. Uh, as far as your physical DPS, you're really dual wield most of the time, so you're probably not going to really worry about armor for the most part. But if you're going to single, if you're only going to do one weapon builds, just kind of go through and just see, hey, this might work because it helps me to deal more skill damage or it helps me to increase this or that. Like I said, really take your time when it comes to boss battles. Because, like I said, most of them aren't going away, with the exception of the mega thing that's happening. But I think that's going to be pretty much it for now. Like I said, the main goal is to beat the bosses as fast as you can by increasing your damage, by breaking the boss if you're going to go that route, and of course by debuffing using weak. But yeah, the two things that you need the most is good DPS, good damage dealing, and weak. Weak, which basically lowers their element of resistance, helping you thus deal more damage. Those are the most important things to have. And then, like I said, if you're going to go the healer route, make sure you at least have someone with God heal. Learn it if you can, and that should pretty much do it. Pay attention to the equipment you have. You can find some really, really tech weapons, like I showed earlier with the cactus hammer. If you want to just cheese out a win by just stunning them to death, it can work. It's not always guaranteed because just because you hit them doesn't mean they're going to be stunned. You may have to keep hitting them over and over, so it may not be reliable. But like I said, there are some tech ways to win. Also, consider the arcs. And actually, one thing that I didn't mention about the arcs, now that I'm talking about it, pay attention to arc skills. So, for example, if you happen to have the El Javanya, this would actually be good too if you're going for the whole break thing because it basically, whenever you use it, let me find the actual. Yeah, because it doesn't actually say on here, so I have to actually equip it, I guess. I didn't have to do that, did I? Oh well. But yeah, here we go. So very powerful light attack with high break and feint against all enemies. So if you're going for the whole break thing, this is definitely an idea that you can use to kind of help with breaking. Also, something else that you can consider. Let's say you're going for a more defensive route and you need like some arc skills to help you, kind of do some recovery. This particular arc right here has the skill to restore MP to all allies and rarely restore HP. This is the March of the Saints. So if you happen to get the skill increased with that, that can help you out. Another really good defensive one, before I forget, I believe, is it this one? I think it is. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, it is. This is the Skyship Lunvalian. Basically, activate a barrier for all allies, more enduring as level rises. I've only used this once, and that was for the plant fight, like that big giant plant that's trying to kill the Pockles. It does something in the beginning of the early game that can do a ton of damage to your characters. This will, if you cast this near the beginning before it does that, it'll help mitigate the damage. You don't necessarily have to have it. Like if you have someone that can just lower their intelligence before they do that ability, that'll also help you out. But like I said, look at some of the arcs that actually have like skills that'll help you get really, really far. And not just SSRs. There are some SRs that are really techy. I've already showed you one already. Now that I think about it, I'll go to it in a sec. I just want to re-equip this before I forget. But like, for example, this. If you're going for the whole breaker thing and you get them to break, basically the recovery speed for breaking lowers, which helps you to do more damage. If you're going for the debuff route, which I'm definitely doing that, this helps as well because duration of debuffs will be plus 30% as far as time frame is concerned. So that'll help your week last longer. So that's pretty cool. What I'd also recommend doing is if you extend it by using some of your prayer stardust or whatever, you can increase like the HP of the unit, the MP, all that other stuff, whatever it allows you to increase. Definitely use it for that, just to kind of help. This particular thing is not going to give you a whole bunch of stats, but it'll help you if you just kind of extend your arcs as well. Extending your arcs will make your characters more powerful, especially for the tower, arena, and of course the boss battles. Another techie thing, which I've shown in the arena, but I'll go ahead and find it. I'm actually gonna stay away from the characters and just go to the arc thing. I'll bring it up here. This kind of goes with the whole stun thing. If you want to try to stun lock your opponent, this is it right here. So Thunderstone Luster, boost Thunder Magic attack damage to 15%. Thunder Magic costs -1 MP. Add chance of stunning to Thunder Magic. So let's say you're running Guardian Angel Lokiel and you cast Annul and Melth to make sure that they can be hit with the stun or lower their resistance to stun. You can then start spamming some low tier thunder spells and just stun lock them. The only problem with this particular strat in a boss fight is that you're using up MP to do this. And granted, I mean, you're going to be using all of your resources probably to beat some bosses anyway. But the problem with having to use MP is that's a resource that you're constantly having to use. Now, and typically you want to spam the lower tier stuff because it's faster and it can happen more and more often, and then you can eventually move up to your bigger tier spells. But I don't know if this is necessarily worth it in boss battles. Like I said, this is kind of just a techie idea. If you don't have the cactus hammer and you don't know where to buy it, that could be your other way around it if you want to try to stun your enemies. And I'm sure there are other things that are rare or even SR that could potentially help you out for one reason or another. Like I said, just go through what you have, kind of do some brainstorming. That's pretty much what I did when I decided I want to start beating bosses. I looked at everything that I had, looked at the skills, which came in handy really for one or two boss fights. And then, but for the most part, I was looking more for just winning as fast as I can. And just kind of put everything together, build those three specific characters, and go to town. Another thing that I should mention is when you're doing the super bosses, keep in mind that you can't bring a friend to either of these fights. It's just three of your teammates. So these are going to be a little more challenging just because you don't have that fourth person to rely on to help you out. But all the bosses in the world map, you can bring a friend. So that will really help you a lot more when it comes to beating these bosses. Like I said, when I beat the little Reaper thing, I actually had to borrow someone else's Lagrobos just so I can get some non elemental magic damage on them. So, you know, it's a lot easier when you do it on the world map. The ones on the events is just more of a challenge of your own characters to see if you can actually do it with what you have. Don't get discouraged too if you lose. Like just try something new. And like I said, there are other ways to beat bosses. This is kind of just some brief recommendations on some ideas that could potentially help you in the long run. So hopefully this has been informative for you. If you have any other strats that you want to bring up just to help the community, feel free to put it in the comments. Like I said, this is more just to help other people. You know what I mean, as far as being able to gain resources and do better. And plus, there'll be more bosses to come. For example, everybody that knows about the whole catching fairies things, there's definitely going to be a boss for that coming up soon. So that'll be the newest boss that you may have to fight. I don't know if you have to fight him to unlock the character or how that's going to be. I haven't really seen anything specific on it, but I'm pretty confident that you're going to have to at least fight it, if nothing else. So if you want to prepare for that fight, hopefully this video and the comments below will help guide you to how to potentially beat it. And remember, you don't have to stick to just a specific team for all boss fights. Feel free to change things up. Certain things have certain elemental weaknesses. Like for example, when I beat that big wall machine thing in the Sky Fortress, I think I used Guardian Angel Lukiel. I think I used Kohaku just because they were special, and then I used I forgot what the other one was, but of course Ray. I used Ray. So different bosses are gonna recommend. They're gonna be recommended to use certain characters to help your odds of winning faster. So definitely exploit their weaknesses. That's what it's there for. And hopefully you'll be a little more successful. Now, if like I said, you may not have all these characters, but with the characters you have and with some of the ideas that I brought, try to put that in mind, put it together, and hopefully you'll come up with something really good. One last thing, because I keep forgetting things or remembering things at the last minute, I highly recommend if you happen to have the new arc, which I ended up pulling off of all the New Year stuff they kept giving us. I got that Starry Calamity thing, and there's a specific spell that I think is just super strong that you should pretty much put on all of your mages, at least that are going to be offensive. It's called Spell Linkage. And I mentioned it in the video when I brought it up on the arc, but magic attack damage was 4% for each repeat of an attack magic, maximum 20%. More than likely, whichever mage you're going to be using is probably going to be casting this same spell over and over. So this is a good way. And it's only 5 SC. It's actually pretty cheap, and you can just spam the same offensive magic spells to potentially deal more damage, which is what you want. So I highly recommend learning this if you happen to have that Starry Calamity arc. But if not, like I said, you have other things that you can use. Like I said, Magic Aura is pretty good for your mages. But yeah, I'm pretty sure there are other guides and resources that'll tell you how to build a mage. Um, like I said, that's the main thing I wanted to go over is just how to deal with bosses. There are other people out there that have guides on how to build a physical DPS person, a magical unit, and things of that nature. So feel free to look at that. And for the bosses that that are on the map, look at your friends list. Your friends list could probably have a unit that makes up for what you don't have. You don't have a character with dual wield? Look at your friends list. They might find someone that has someone with dual wield. So that could be something that you could use. Or let's say you need a Lagrobos to be able to cast Apocalypse. You might have a friend that has that. That's what I like about the friend list thing is that we have so much of a variety from the friends list that I can be able to say, you know what, this is what I'm lacking. This is what I'm going to go ahead and use. So like I said, just put it all together and hopefully you'll be successful in your future boss battles. I've been wanting to do this video for quite a while because I think this is something that's very important and it's something that I really put a little bit of thought into to kind of, make sure that this was a little cohesive. So hopefully you've learned something. Hopefully you'll do better in the future if you haven't. And I'm looking forward to hearing how you beat a certain boss. Until the next episode, thanks for watching. Take care and keep gaming, everyone. Later.